So you live in Spring Branch, and you're looking for a dog trainer. It's a pretty big decision, right? Well, today we're going to walk through everything you need to know to find a professional who really gets you, your dog, and what life is like right here in our neighborhood.
I mean, think about it. Here in Spring Branch, your dog needs to be ready for just about anything. We're talking calm walks near Bingle Road, but also handling the hustle and bustle of a place like Memorial City Mall. They've got to be polite when you bump into neighbors and their pets. It's all about real-world skills.
All right, to keep things simple, here's what we're covering. We'll start with why training here is a little different, then get into training philosophies, cover formats and costs. I'll give you some key questions to ask, and we'll wrap up with some local rules and resources. Sound good?
Okay, first up, training in Spring Branch. Let's talk about why your location actually matters quite a bit. Training a dog in a suburban spot like this one, well, it definitely requires a unique set of skills. You see, a trainer who really knows Spring Branch, they get it. They can prep your dog for the stuff you'll actually run into every day. They'll know the difference between a chill walk down a quiet side street versus the noise and traffic along a busy spot like Long Point Road, and trust me, that local know-how is just invaluable.
All right, next, let's get into the how. This part is all about training philosophy, and honestly, this might be one of the biggest factors in your whole decision. So, the gold standard for modern, effective, and humane training is something called positive reinforcement. It's pretty simple, actually. It just means you reward the behavior you want to see again. You're building a relationship based on trust, one where your dog wants to work with you, not because they're afraid not to. Now, just as important is knowing what to stay away from. If a trainer ever suggests using fear, intimidation, or pain to get results, that is a huge red flag. Seriously, just walk away. Those methods can create a ton of anxiety and even aggression, and they're just not needed. Science-based, humane methods are way safer and, frankly, they work better.
Okay, so how can you tell if a trainer is legit and committed to humane methods? A great way is to look for their credentials. You'll see these collections of letters after their name. They basically show that a trainer has put in the work, studied, and passed some pretty tough exams. You don't have to memorize this whole list, but seeing any of these is a really, really good sign.
All right, let's get practical. Section 3 is all about the different kinds of training formats you'll find and, of course, what you can expect to pay for them right here in the Spring Branch area.
So you've basically got two main options to think about. Group classes are awesome for learning to focus when there are other dogs and people around. Plus, they're usually easier on the wallet. But if you're dealing with specific issues, like your dog going nuts at the front door or pulling on the leash in your neighborhood, that's where private, in-home lessons really shine. You're tackling the problem right where it happens.
And here's a quick look at the typical costs in our area for 2025. As you can see, group classes for puppies or basic obedience tend to be the most budget-friendly. Private lessons are a bigger investment per session, and then you have board and train programs, which are the most intensive and also the most expensive. This chart should give you a pretty good idea of what to expect when you're planning your budget.
Okay, you know what to look for? You know the costs. Now, let's get you ready with the right questions to ask. Think of this next section as your personal checklist for interviewing any trainer you're considering.
When you're on the phone or meeting a potential trainer, you'll want to have these questions ready. Ask them flat out. What methods do you use? What are your credentials? A good trainer will be happy to tell you. They should also be able to explain exactly how they'll customize a plan for your dog and your life, how you'll both measure progress, and of course, they should be totally upfront about all the costs and their cancellation policy.
All right, for our last section, let's bring all this training stuff back into the real world, right here in our community. Because, let's face it, training doesn't just happen inside your house. It happens out on our streets and in our parks, and that world has its own rules.
Here's a big one. A really simple but super important rule for all of Houston and Harris County. In any public space that isn't a designated dog park, your leash has to be 6 feet or shorter. That's it. It's all about safety for everyone. So those long, retractable leashes, probably best to leave them at home when you're walking around the neighborhood.
And besides the leash law, there are a few other key things to keep in mind. First, a current rabies vaccination isn't just a good idea, it's required by Texas law. Second, if you're a City of Houston resident, you have to register your pet with BARC. And third, believe it or not, excessive barking can actually be considered a nuisance under city rules. Good training really helps you stay on the right side of all these local requirements.
So, once your dog starts learning these new skills, where can you go to practice?
Well, for safe, off-leash stuff, like working on their recall, a fenced-in dog park like Millie Bush or Irvin Chew is perfect. And if you want to practice walking calmly on a leash with distractions like joggers and bikes, the trails over at Terry Hershey Park are an absolutely fantastic spot for that.
So, after hearing all this, what's the first thing you want to work on with your dog? What's your top priority? Is it getting them to come back every single time you call? Or maybe just walking nicely on a leash without pulling your arm off? Or hey, maybe it's just not having them jump all over your guests. Figuring out that #1 goal is the perfect place to start when you talk to a trainer.
You know, having a well-trained dog makes everything so much easier. It means you can actually relax and enjoy a walk through Terry Hershey Park or have friends over without any chaos. It's about building a better life together. So, good luck with your training journey.